"So, this is how it feels to watch your world from the outside," Hannah Carter whispered to herself as the black-stretched limousine glided to a stop in front of the marble steps of St. Augustine's Cathedral. The air was crisp, carrying the faint scent of roses from the wedding arrangements inside, mingling with the distant aroma of polished wood and fresh champagne. Guests in tuxedos and sequined gowns filtered through the grand entrance, laughter bubbling over the low hum of string instruments that floated through the cavernous hall. Hannah paused, her hand resting lightly on the door handle. Her twins, Ella and Liam, nestled safely in her arms, each clutching a small velvet blanket as though it were a talisman against the storm of expectations beyond the glass doors. She caught sight of Ethan Blake across the steps, standing beside a striking woman in a sapphire gown. His easy smile meant for the cameras and the crowd, but the sharp glint in his eyes betrayed the underlying tension he felt in the presence of someone he once dismissed. Hannah inhaled slowly, feeling the weight of the past 5 years press against her chest, each memory a brick in the fortress she had painstakingly built since the day he had walked away. Her gaze swept across the wedding party, the pews lined with polished shoes and glinting cufflinks, the floral arrangements a riot of color that seemed almost garish under the soft golden glow of the chandeliers. She adjusted the collar of her tailored coat, the fabric brushing against her skin like a quiet affirmation of the woman she had become, not the woman he thought he could belittle. As she stepped from the limousine, the pavement cool beneath her flats, a hush seemed to ripple through the assembled guests, a subtle acknowledgement that Hannah Carter had entered, and she was unrecognizable to all but those who had known her before. The twins clung to her side, their small hands entwined with hers, and in that moment, she felt a surge of protective determination, a fierce shield of maternal strength that radiated without a single word. Ethan's eyes widened slightly, a flicker of uncertainty crossing his expression as he realized the presence of the children, the symbols of a life he had attempted to erase, and yet could not. The sharp click of her heels on the marble steps marked each deliberate movement, a rhythm that echoed in the silent anticipation of the crowd, each step a testament to the control she now held over her own narrative. She reached the top of the staircase and paused, letting her gaze sweep over the gathering, noting familiar faces, some curious, some smug, others merely observing, yet all unable to ignore the quiet authority that now emanated from her. Hannah's lips curved into a faint, knowing smile, an imperceptible signal to Logan Sterling, who stood slightly behind her, his presence steady, commanding without intrusion, the silent partner in this tableau of reclaimed dignity. The soft rustle of fabric, the low murmur of a waiter adjusting a tray, the distant chime of the cathedral bells, all blended into a soundtrack of poised anticipation as Hannah took a final breath, straightened her shoulders, and stepped fully into the hall, the twins at her side, the limousine behind her, and the entirety of her past and present converging in the quiet, powerful declaration of her arrival. Everyone's eyes were drawn to her, some in shock, some in admiration, and Ethan's confident mask faltered for the briefest moment as he registered the reality. The woman he once underestimated was no longer invisible, and the quiet storm of her presence, marked by the subtle power of her gaze, the tangible proof of her new life, and the twins' innocent alertness, began to reshape the energy of the entire room. Hannah Carter stepped lightly to the edge of the grand ballroom, letting her gaze sweep over the glittering crowd, the chandeliers dripping crystal light across the polished marble floor, the air humming softly with a low, steady murmur of conversation and the subtle clinking of glasses. She felt the weight of the past years pressing against her, each memory a quiet reminder of the resilience she had cultivated in the wake of betrayal. The image of Ethan Blake parading with his fiancée was seared into her mind, the smug confidence he carried a sharp contrast to the steady calm she now embraced. Her thoughts drifted to the morning spent in the soft glow of her sunlit apartment, coaching Ella and Liam through simple lessons in patience and kindness, moments that had rebuilt her faith in the ordinary joys of life. Logan Sterling had been a quiet presence throughout, offering guidance without intrusion, his calm authority a counterpoint to the chaos she had endured. She remembered the painstaking months spent reorganizing her life, reclaiming financial independence through careful investments, and restoring her reputation within her professional community. Each decision had been deliberate, each step measured, and now it culminated in the subtle, undeniable aura of competence and composure she radiated. As the string quartet shifted to a lighter melody, Hannah adjusted the strap of her tailored coat, feeling the reassuring texture of the fabric, a symbol of the meticulous planning that had carried her from vulnerability to strength. Her eyes caught the small details of the room, the gleam of polished silver on the tables, the precise arrangement of bouquets in shades of white and blush, the warm amber lighting that softened the grandeur without diminishing its weight. She felt the soft tug of her twins at her hands, the small, trusting gestures a grounding force, anchoring her presence in the reality she had shaped rather than the memory of what had been taken from her. Every step forward through the crowd was intentional, a silent assertion of her control over the narrative that had once been dictated by others. Faces turned, some with curiosity, others with unspoken admiration, and Hannah allowed herself the faintest smile, an acknowledgement of the subtle power she now wielded without a word spoken. She paused near the center of the hall, observing Ethan from a discreet distance, noting the slight tension in his posture, the almost imperceptible shift in his expression as he registered the changes in her life and presence. The twins looked up at her with wide, innocent eyes, unaware of the social currents swirling around them, and Hannah drew in a slow, steadying breath, feeling the convergence of past struggle and present triumph. She was no longer defined by what had been lost, she was defined by the careful, deliberate construction of a life that was wholly her own, a life that could not be diminished by the expectations or judgments of others. The quiet music, the gentle laughter, the ambient warmth of the hall, all combined to frame her ascent, the invisible thread of authority and assurance weaving through each movement, each glance, until she reached the point where past and present intersected seamlessly, and Hannah Carter, with her twins close at hand and Logan Sterling near enough to guide without overshadowing, stood fully in the center of her reclaimed world, poised, composed, and undeniably in control. Hannah Carter moved further into the grand ballroom, the soft amber light of the chandeliers catching the subtle shimmer of her emerald green gown, each step measured and deliberate as the twins, Ella and Liam, held her hands with quiet trust. Logan Sterling walked slightly behind her, a calm, steady presence, his tailored navy suit blending seamlessly with the polished elegance of the room, his eyes alert, observing without intruding, ensuring that every movement Hannah made conveyed confidence and poise. The chatter of the guests faded into the background as all attention shifted toward her, the combination of her serene authority, the innocent presence of the twins, and the subtle, unmistakable aura of affluence surrounding her presence creating a magnetic pull that could not be ignored. Ethan Blake's smile faltered, the previously easy confidence in his posture replaced by a flicker of uncertainty as he registered the reality of the moment, the calculated power Hannah now embodied, a woman who had reconstructed her life brick by brick, unshakable in her composure and radiating quiet strength. The soft rustle of fabric, the gentle clip of heels on marble, and the faint murmur of whispered speculation from the crowd formed a rhythm, punctuating the anticipation as Hannah approached the center of the room, her gaze sweeping over familiar faces, some curious, others surprised, and a few in awe. The twins looked up at her, their small faces reflecting trust and admiration, anchors in the sea of social tension, and Hannah drew in a slow breath, feeling the balance of maternal protection, personal triumph, and the subtle support of Logan Sterling converge into a single, commanding presence. She allowed a small, controlled smile to play on her lips, not a gesture of arrogance but a quiet signal of unshakable authority, the kind that did not require words to communicate her status. The collective energy of the room shifted, a tangible recognition of the transformation from the woman once underestimated to the woman now in full command of her space and destiny. Ethan's gaze lingered, a silent acknowledgement of the reversal, and the whispers around him reflected the astonishment he could not openly display, the realization that Hannah's life had not only continued but flourished in ways he had never anticipated. Hannah positioned herself gracefully, guiding the twins to stand beside her, Logan stepping to the side to complete the tableau, the three figures together a statement of resilience, strategy, and earned dignity. The soft melody of the string quartet continued, its notes accentuating the fluid movement of her entrance and the hushed admiration of the attendees. Each detail, the glittering chandeliers, the polished floors, the arrangement of flowers, and the subtle, commanding posture of Hannah herself, combined to form an atmosphere charged with quiet triumph. As she paused at the center, the weight of every past slight and whispered insult dissolved into the air, replaced by the undeniable truth of her presence. She had returned not for confrontation, not for retaliation, but for the assertion of her life, her children, and her reclaimed dignity. The room seemed to hold its breath, the tension palpable, and Hannah, steady and composed, felt the subtle thrill of complete control over the narrative, the knowledge that every eye was on her, every thought recalibrating around the undeniable strength she exuded, her victory complete in the silent, eloquent language of presence, composure, and poise. The soft glow of the chandeliers reflected across the polished marble floors, casting long, shimmering patterns that seemed to guide Hannah Carter forward as she moved through the crowd with deliberate composure, her emerald gown catching the light at every turn. The twins, Ella and Liam, held her hands tightly, their small faces lit with wonder at the grandeur surrounding them, and Logan Sterling walked just behind, his steady presence a subtle reassurance rather than an intrusion. Every eye in the room had shifted, the atmosphere charged with anticipation, yet Hannah remained calm, allowing the subtle power of her presence to resonate without a word spoken. She glanced briefly at Ethan Blake, who was now frozen mid-conversation, the confident facade he had worn earlier replaced by a tension that he could not conceal, and in that moment, the contrast between their paths became undeniable, his life curated for display and validation, hers quietly reconstructed through resilience, intelligence, and care. The soft notes of the string quartet rose and fell like a gentle tide, weaving through the murmurs of the guests, punctuating the delicate rhythm of attention that followed Hannah as she guided the twins closer to a central vantage point where the best lighting highlighted the elegance of the setting. Her mind wandered momentarily to the countless hours spent planning, rebuilding, and nurturing, each decision carefully considered, each setback met with patient resolve, and now every choice converged into this singular, controlled moment of undeniable presence. Logan's hand brushed lightly near hers in silent support, a reminder that the quiet strength of their alliance was as important as the visual statement they made together. Faces turned subtly, some catching the gleam of admiration in each other's eyes, others processing the shift in energy that Hannah carried effortlessly, a mixture of maternal protection, personal triumph, and understated wealth that no casual glance could fully appreciate. Ethan's attention faltered, and he found himself counting the small gestures that proclaimed the transformation, the way Hannah held her posture, the calm determination in her gaze, the seamless integration of her children into the scene, and the subtle visual cues of Logan Sterling's presence affirming her authority without overshadowing it. Each small movement, the light rustle of fabric, the faint click of heels, and the serene adjustment of the twins in her care, became part of the silent narrative, telling a story of a life reclaimed, a confidence rebuilt, and a quiet, unassailable dignity that no word could convey. The ambient light, the carefully arranged floral bouquets, the polished surfaces of the tables, and the soft echoes of laughter and conversation all framed Hannah as she paused for a brief, controlled breath, allowing the energy of the room to settle around her like a halo, acknowledging her journey and the triumph of presence over circumstance. She looked out at the assembled crowd, noting the subtle shifts in posture, the quickened glances, the recognition that this was no ordinary entrance, and the gentle hum of attention seemed to pulse in rhythm with her heartbeat, marking the transition from observer of life to its confident orchestrator. In this quiet, potent tableau, Hannah Carter, flanked by her twins and supported by Logan Sterling, embodied the culmination of strategy, patience, and innate strength, each element harmonizing into an atmosphere that demanded respect, commanded focus, and quietly, yet irrevocably, altered the perception of everyone who witnessed it. Hannah Carter took a slow step forward, letting her eyes wander across the ballroom where the polished marble reflected the soft golden light of the chandeliers above, the delicate hum of conversation mingling with the subtle notes of the string quartet that floated through the space. Ella and Liam clung gently to her hands, their small faces reflecting awe and curiosity, and she felt the surge of quiet authority that had been cultivated over months of careful planning and measured resolve. Logan Sterling remained slightly behind her, his presence a calm, invisible anchor, the tailored navy of his suit emphasizing the understated confidence that complemented her own. Hannah's gaze met Ethan Blake's across the room, and for the first time in years, she saw a flicker of uncertainty ripple through the confident mask he had worn so consistently, a subtle acknowledgement of the power she now held simply by existing in this space with her children by her side. The guests, momentarily silenced, adjusted their attention, noticing the seamless integration of maternal grace, personal triumph, and quiet affluence, the delicate balance of these elements signaling an unmistakable transformation from the woman they had once underestimated. Each measured movement, the soft rustle of her gown, the gentle clip of her heels against the marble, and the delicate way she guided her twins created a rhythm that commanded attention without a word, a visual narrative that spoke of perseverance, strategy, and the reclamation of dignity. The subtle interplay of light across her gown, the reflection in the polished surfaces of the tables, and the ambient warmth of the room combined to frame her presence as both serene and commanding, a harmony of elegance and strength that left an indelible impression on all who watched. Ethan's composure wavered, the reality of the transformation settling over him as he recognized the deliberate, meticulous construction of a life that he had once dismissed, the twins standing confidently beside her, a tangible symbol of resilience and hope. Hannah allowed herself a faint, controlled smile, not for display, but as an internal acknowledgement of the journey that had brought her to this precise moment, the convergence of patience, courage, and quiet strategy crystallizing into a presence that could not be overlooked. The soft music, the gentle rustle of fabric from the surrounding guests, and the delicate lighting all reinforced the narrative of triumph and reclamation, the invisible threads of respect and admiration weaving subtly through the room without a single uttered word. As she paused near the center of the hall, drawing a steadying breath and glancing at the serene, watchful figure of Logan Sterling beside her, Hannah felt the complete alignment of past effort and present control, the culmination of a journey marked not by confrontation but by the quiet, undeniable assertion of her life, her children, and the dignity she had painstakingly rebuilt. The room held its breath, the attention of every guest crystallized on the tableau of Hannah and her twins, the silent strength she exuded altering the energy of the space, reshaping perceptions, and leaving an impression that would linger long after the music faded and the lights dimmed. The soft murmur of conversation continued to ripple through the grand ballroom, yet Hannah Carter moved with a quiet, unyielding rhythm that seemed to slow time around her. Ella and Liam clutched her hands with a familiarity that spoke of trust and safety, and Logan Sterling maintained a discreet, watchful presence, the subtle lines of his tailored suit echoing the calm authority that supported her without overshadowing it. Each footstep she took was deliberate, measured, and in perfect harmony with the ambient music, the delicate strings of the quartet rising and falling like a gentle tide that carried the attention of the room effortlessly toward her. The chandeliers overhead cast a warm, golden light that danced across the marble floors, highlighting the soft shimmer of her gown and the serene composure in her expression, an image that contrasted sharply with the tension radiating from Ethan Blake as he observed the scene from a distance, the ease he had once worn now replaced by a silent recognition of the reversal in power. Guests adjusted subtly, shifting in their seats, leaning slightly forward, or exchanging whispers as the presence of Hannah, her twins, and Logan Sterling created an unmistakable tableau of grace, authority, and accomplishment. Hannah's mind flickered briefly to the countless mornings spent planning, recalibrating, and nurturing her life and her children, each decision executed with quiet precision that now manifested in the unspoken command of her presence. The soft rustle of fabric, the faint clip of heels on polished marble, the gentle murmur of admiration and surprise, all these details formed an invisible rhythm that punctuated her progress through the room, each element reinforcing the narrative of regained control, resilience, and composure. She allowed herself a subtle, controlled smile, one not of triumph over others but of recognition of the journey that had brought her to this singular, powerful moment, the intersection of past effort, careful planning, and quiet courage crystallizing into a presence that could not be ignored. Ethan's eyes lingered, the confidence he had taken for granted in previous years subtly eroded as he registered the harmonious combination of maternal warmth, personal strength, and understated wealth that Hannah now projected effortlessly. Logan's presence, steady and unobtrusive, enhanced the tableau without drawing attention away, a quiet support that allowed her to shine fully in the center of the room. The twins, aware of their mother's poise, mirrored her calm and confidence in their own small, expressive ways, adding to the visual statement of a life reclaimed and protected. Every detail, the light glinting off crystal chandeliers, the careful arrangement of bouquets, the gentle hum of conversation, and the subtle movement of the crowd, served to frame her presence as a natural, unassailable authority. As she paused momentarily to survey the room, the hush that fell over the gathering underscored the quiet power of her arrival, the attention focused on the undeniable assertion of her life, her children, and the carefully curated reality she now controlled. In that moment, Hannah Carter embodied the culmination of resilience, strategy, and calm, commanding the space through presence alone, the soft, ambient energy of the ballroom bending subtly to the rhythm she set, leaving an impression that would linger long after she moved from one side of the room to the other. Hannah Carter paused near the center of the grand ballroom, letting her gaze sweep over the sea of faces that had once dismissed her, the soft hum of conversations and the gentle clatter of glass punctuating the quiet tension that now filled the space. Ella and Liam stood close at her sides, their small hands clutching hers with a confidence that mirrored the calm strength she projected, and Logan Sterling remained just behind, an unobtrusive anchor, his presence adding an unspoken weight of assurance to the tableau. The chandeliers above scattered warm light across the polished marble, illuminating the subtle shimmer of her emerald gown and casting delicate reflections that danced across the attentive eyes of the guests. Hannah allowed herself a slow, controlled breath, feeling the culmination of years of careful planning, personal growth, and quiet determination coalesce into a presence that commanded attention without the need for words. Ethan Blake's posture betrayed a flicker of unease, the ease and confidence he had relied upon for years now wavering in the face of the undeniable transformation before him, a realization that Hannah's life had advanced and flourished far beyond the narrow perceptions he had once imposed. Guests shifted subtly in their places, the soft shuffle of movement, a whispered exchange here and there, acknowledging the quiet but undeniable authority she now radiated, a combination of maternal poise, personal triumph, and understated affluence that created an atmosphere impossible to ignore. Hannah's mind reflected briefly on the countless hours spent reclaiming her independence, rebuilding her life with deliberate intent, nurturing her children, and cultivating a quiet, unshakable confidence that now manifested in every graceful gesture and measured step. The soft rustle of her gown, the gentle click of her heels on the marble floor, and the faint, steady rhythm of conversation all framed the narrative of reclamation and composed strength, allowing her to move seamlessly through the crowd while every observer registered the transformation. Logan Sterling's subtle guidance ensured the twins remained composed, his eyes alert yet unobtrusive, and Hannah drew a steadying breath, noting the ease with which her presence reshaped the energy of the room, commanding attention without the need for confrontation. Each glance, each measured movement, carried the weight of her journey from uncertainty to mastery over her own life, and the room seemed to recognize the shift, the energy subtly bending to accommodate the quiet, firm authority she exuded. Ethan's gaze lingered, his previous certainty replaced with an acknowledgement that the woman standing before him was no longer the one he underestimated, and the quiet attention of the crowd reinforced the subtle power dynamics at play. Hannah allowed herself a faint, deliberate smile, one that spoke not of triumph over another but of the deep satisfaction that comes from reclaiming agency, presence, and dignity. The ambient music, the gentle interplay of light across crystal chandeliers, the carefully arranged floral bouquets, and the subtle attention of the crowd all coalesced to underscore the potency of the moment, marking Hannah Carter, with her twins and Logan Sterling at her side, as a figure of quiet mastery, unspoken authority, and enduring grace within the elegant confines of the grand ballroom. Hannah Carter moved with deliberate grace through the opulent space, the polished marble reflecting the warm golden glow of the chandeliers above, the soft hum of conversation and the gentle clink of glass accentuating the quiet intensity of the moment. Ella and Liam remained close at her sides, their small hands intertwined with hers, a grounding presence amid the sea of well-dressed guests, who now observed her every movement with subtle, captivated attention. Logan Sterling maintained a calm, watchful position slightly behind her, his composed demeanor reinforcing the quiet authority she exuded without drawing attention from her. Hannah's eyes swept across the room, noting the subtle shifts in posture and expression from the crowd as they registered the serene yet commanding presence she projected, a careful balance of maternal warmth, personal accomplishment, and understated sophistication that made the room itself feel subtly rearranged around her influence. Ethan Blake stood across the room, his confident posture faltering, a subtle tension in his shoulders betraying the realization that the woman he once underestimated had evolved into someone wholly uncontainable within his former frame of expectation. The twins glanced up at her occasionally, their eyes wide with trust and curiosity, and Hannah allowed a small, controlled smile to form, one that conveyed assurance, calm, and the quiet joy of knowing her journey had brought her to this precise, powerful juncture. The soft rustle of fabric from her gown, the measured clip of her heels on the marble floor, and the gentle melody of the string quartet created a subtle rhythm that harmonized with her steady, confident movements, each step reinforcing the narrative of resilience, strategic planning, and reclaimed agency. Guests whispered softly among themselves, exchanging glances that betrayed admiration, curiosity, and awe, and Hannah felt the faint pulse of energy in the room shift in response to her presence, a silent acknowledgement of the transformation from the quiet, overlooked past into a fully realized, confident present. Logan's discreet positioning ensured the twins remained secure, yet free to move with a natural ease that complemented the composed tableau, and Hannah drew in a slow, intentional breath, feeling the culmination of her efforts, the subtle orchestration of environment, attention, and perception converging into a singular, controlled moment of undeniable authority. Every gesture, every glance, every small adjustment of posture or position contributed to a silent, eloquent narrative of mastery over circumstance, the attentive gaze of the crowd reinforcing the impact of her quiet power. Ethan's expression continued to betray his internal recognition of this reversal, the calculated control and graceful command that Hannah projected a stark reminder of the time, patience, and careful strategy that had rebuilt her life. The interplay of soft lighting, reflective surfaces, gentle background music, and the poised presence of Hannah, her twins, and Logan Sterling created an atmosphere that radiated dignity, composure, and unspoken authority, establishing a visual and emotional crescendo that drew every eye, held every attention, and marked an unmistakable statement of accomplishment, resilience, and quiet triumph. Hannah Carter took a slow, deliberate step forward, the soft sheen of her emerald gown catching the light from the grand chandeliers above and scattering reflections across the polished marble floors, the gentle hum of conversations and the occasional clinking of glasses forming a subtle, harmonious backdrop to the quiet authority she now exuded. Ella and Liam clung close, their small hands enveloped in hers, their trust palpable and grounding, while Logan Sterling remained slightly behind, a steady presence whose calm composure reinforced the unspoken power she radiated. Her gaze swept across the room, noting the subtle shifts in posture and expression from the assembled guests as they registered her presence, the careful combination of maternal warmth, personal accomplishment, and understated elegance creating an atmosphere in which attention and curiosity were held without the need for a single word. Ethan Blake stood across the room, the confident facade he had relied upon for years momentarily unsettled, his posture tightening slightly as he processed the transformation he witnessed, the woman he once underestimated now standing fully in control, a living testament to resilience and deliberate design. The soft rustle of fabric, the measured clip of heels on marble, and the fluid movement of Hannah and her twins created a rhythm that subtly drew every gaze, the ambient energy of the room bending toward her quiet, commanding presence. Guests exchanged brief, hushed glances, their reactions a mixture of surprise, admiration, and contemplation, as Hannah allowed herself a controlled, knowing smile, not for triumph over another, but as an acknowledgement of the journey that had led to this singular, powerful moment. The interplay of light and shadow across the chandeliers, the gentle glow on the polished surfaces, and the careful positioning of Logan and the twins amplified the understated authority Hannah projected, each detail reinforcing the narrative of regained composure and agency. She observed the nuanced reactions of those around her, noting the subtle recalibration of attention, the silent acknowledgement of the deliberate life she had rebuilt, and the confidence with which she navigated this moment. Every step, every glance, and the quiet presence she maintained conveyed the full weight of the transformation she had achieved, the room itself seeming to respond to the careful orchestration of her poise, strategy, and maternal strength. Ethan's eyes continued to betray recognition, the realization settling in that the woman before him commanded more than respect or attention, she had reclaimed her life with a quiet, unwavering authority. The soft music, the ambient chatter, the delicate clinking of glasses, and the gentle movement of guests all merged into a subtle symphony that underscored her presence, each element emphasizing the silent power and poise Hannah carried, the twins standing confidently beside her and Logan Sterling ensuring that her energy remained uninterrupted, marking the culmination of years of resilience, thoughtful planning, and quiet mastery of the space around her. In this moment, Hannah Carter fully embodied the elegance, control, and assured dignity of a life reclaimed, her presence alone reshaping the dynamics of the room and leaving an indelible impression on every observer. Hannah Carter felt the subtle shift in the energy of the grand ballroom as the last notes of the string quartet lingered in the air, the polished marble reflecting soft glimmers of golden light from the chandeliers above, and the quiet murmur of the guests now carrying a mix of curiosity and restrained admiration. Ella and Liam held her hands confidently, their small faces illuminated with wonder and trust, and Logan Sterling walked just behind, his presence a calm, steadying influence that reinforced the quiet authority Hannah projected. Each movement she made was deliberate, the gentle rustle of her emerald gown and the measured click of her heels against the marble composing a rhythm that drew the attention of the room without overt effort, every step a testament to the careful construction of the life she now fully controlled. Her eyes scanned the crowd, noting subtle gestures, sideways glances, and small adjustments in posture as the guests processed the undeniable aura of composure, confidence, and quiet affluence she radiated, a tangible demonstration of the transformation from vulnerability to self-assured presence. Ethan Blake's posture tightened slightly, his confident demeanor faltering as he recognized the deliberate, poised mastery of a woman who had rebuilt her life with patience, intelligence, and resilience, and the realization that her strength now exceeded the constraints he had once assumed settled quietly across his expression. The twins glanced up at Hannah with small, knowing smiles, mirroring the calm assurance she had cultivated, and she returned the gesture. Subtly, acknowledging their role as both anchor and symbol of the life she had reclaimed. Logan Sterling maintained his unobtrusive position, his eyes alert and attentive, allowing Hannah to occupy the center of attention, her silent command of space and perception marking the delicate balance of authority and presence. The ambient lighting highlighted the subtle interplay of textures in the room, the shimmer of crystal, the polished surfaces of the tables, the soft floral arrangements, and the warm tones of the chandeliers, each element reinforcing the narrative of refinement, strategy, and measured power that Hannah now embodied. Guests whispered quietly among themselves, their conversations laced with awe and restrained surprise, the social rhythm bending subtly in acknowledgement of the poised, commanding presence before them. Hannah inhaled slowly, feeling the culmination of years of careful effort, thoughtful planning, and the resilient cultivation of confidence coalescing into a singular moment where attention, perception, and subtle influence converged seamlessly. Every gesture, glance, and step communicated the totality of her journey from obscurity to authority, the quiet strength she projected now reshaping the energy of the room and commanding respect without a word spoken. Ethan's eyes lingered, the slight shift in his posture and the tightening of his jaw betraying the internal acknowledgement that the woman standing before him had achieved a mastery over her life and presence that could no longer be ignored. In that precise, elegant moment, Hannah Carter, flanked by her twins and with Logan Sterling supporting her with discreet vigilance, embodied the perfect intersection of composure, strategy, maternal guidance, and understated power, the subtle orchestration of attention, perception, and quiet authority leaving an indelible impression on every observer in the grand, golden-lit space. Hannah Carter stepped further into the center of the grand ballroom, the warm glow of the chandeliers reflecting off her emerald green gown, illuminating the quiet determination etched across her composed face. Ella and Liam stayed close at her sides, their small hands interlaced with hers, each movement of theirs reinforcing the seamless presence she commanded, and Logan Sterling remained a subtle, grounding force slightly behind, his calm, measured demeanor lending additional weight to the unspoken authority she carried. The murmurs of guests wove through the space like a gentle current, but all attention now subtly orbited around her, drawn by the combination of maternal composure, sophisticated elegance, and undeniable confidence. Hannah's gaze swept the room, noting the barely perceptible gestures, the quickened glances, and the half-smiles exchanged between onlookers as they registered her complete mastery of both presence and narrative, a silent communication of accomplishment that needed no words. Ethan Blake, standing at the far side of the room, felt his previously unshakable confidence waver as he observed the precision, poise, and calm assurance that Hannah now projected, each subtle gesture a testament to the careful rebuilding of her life, her independence, and her dignity. The soft click of heels against marble, the faint rustle of fabric, and the gentle hum of conversation created a rhythm that accentuated every intentional movement, each step reinforcing the careful orchestration of perception, attention, and influence that Hannah carried effortlessly. Logan's unobtrusive positioning ensured that the twins remained poised, yet free to engage naturally with the environment, reinforcing the image of a life meticulously restored and fully under control. Hannah allowed herself a subtle, controlled smile, one that reflected internal satisfaction and the awareness of how far she had come, the culmination of thoughtful strategy, quiet resilience, and deliberate empowerment now embodied in every graceful motion. The room seemed to bend slightly around her presence, the soft lighting glinting across the polished surfaces, the floral arrangements, and the crystal chandeliers highlighting the harmonious balance of elegance, authority, and composure. Guests whispered softly, sharing glimpses of astonishment, admiration, and the unspoken recognition of the strength Hannah now embodied, a quiet power amplified by the positioning of her twins and the discreet support of Logan Sterling. Ethan's gaze lingered longer than intended, the tension in his posture betraying his awareness of the transformation he was witnessing, a woman once underestimated now standing fully in command of her space, her life, and the perception of everyone around her. Each subtle movement, each glance, each carefully measured step conveyed a narrative of reclaimed dignity, strategic foresight, and personal triumph, and the ambient energy of the room responded accordingly, bending to the quiet, assured influence she radiated. Hannah Carter, with Ella and Liam at her side and Logan Sterling subtly reinforcing her presence, embodied the perfect synthesis of maternal guidance, personal authority, and elegant composure, her silent, commanding presence resonating throughout the grand ballroom and leaving an unforgettable impression on every guest present. Hannah Carter stood still for a moment, allowing the soft golden light of the chandeliers to wash over her and the twins, Ella and Liam, their small hands still firmly in hers, as the room seemed to collectively inhale in silent recognition of the quiet command she now held. Logan Sterling, standing slightly behind her, projected calm assurance, his presence unobtrusive yet integral to the composed tableau, emphasizing without overtly declaring the strength and authority Hannah now exuded. The polished marble reflected subtle glimmers from the crystal chandeliers above, and the gentle hum of conversations, punctuated by the occasional clink of glass, created a soundtrack that made every gesture, every deliberate movement of Hannah's steps, feel like a measured statement of reclaimed dignity. Guests shifted imperceptibly in their places, leaning slightly forward or exchanging whispers, their attention subtly drawn to the harmonious display of maternal poise, elegant composure, and strategic presence she radiated, a combination that spoke volumes without a single word being spoken. Ethan Blake, across the room, could not fully mask the flicker of unease passing through his stance, the careful veneer of confidence that he relied upon for years now subtly eroded by the realization that the woman before him had meticulously reconstructed her life into a tableau of undeniable authority, resilience, and calm sophistication. The soft, measured rustle of Hannah's gown, the rhythmic click of her heels against the marble floor, and the quiet murmur of anticipation in the background accentuated the power embedded in her every movement, as each step was both a declaration of presence and a reinforcement of the control she now commanded. Logan's steady vigilance ensured that the twins remained composed and confident, reinforcing visually and emotionally the life Hannah had shaped with intention and care. She allowed a subtle, controlled smile to touch her lips, acknowledging internally the painstaking work that had led to this moment of unspoken triumph, a smile that carried satisfaction and calm confidence, projecting it seamlessly to those observing her. Every glance she cast, every gentle adjustment of posture, communicated the quiet but absolute authority she held over her space, her narrative, and the perception of all around her. The ambient lighting, the arrangement of floral displays, and the soft interplay of reflective surfaces contributed to a setting that highlighted her presence and elegance, emphasizing the deliberate harmony of poise, strategy, and maternal guidance she embodied. Ethan's eyes remained fixed on her, the tension in his posture betraying the silent acknowledgement of her evolution, a transformation from a past underestimated and constrained to a present fully confident, composed, and respected. The subtle ripple of admiration, surprise, and quiet respect among the guests reinforced the effectiveness of her deliberate positioning and the understated authority she now carried. Hannah Carter, centered in the ballroom with Ella and Liam at her side and Logan Sterling supporting her presence without intrusion, stood as the embodiment of quiet mastery, reclaimed dignity, and unassailable composure, each element of her appearance, gesture, and movement combining to leave an enduring, profound impression on every observer in the softly glowing, elegant space. Hannah Carter allowed herself a moment to simply stand in the center of the grand ballroom, the soft golden glow of the chandeliers cascading over her emerald green gown and reflecting gently on the polished marble floors, a subtle rhythm of anticipation and quiet admiration threading through the guests. Ella and Liam clutched her hands with a calm, natural confidence, their presence a living testament to the life she had nurtured and protected, and Logan Sterling remained slightly behind, his composed and steady presence reinforcing the quiet authority she radiated without intruding on the scene. The soft murmur of conversation, punctuated by the gentle clinking of glassware, seemed to fade into the background as every eye in the room followed her movements, noting the careful balance of maternal warmth, personal accomplishment, and refined elegance that defined her presence. Ethan Blake's posture remained rigid, a faint flicker of realization and subdued tension betraying the acknowledgement that the woman before him had not only reclaimed her life but had elevated it far beyond the narrow expectations he had once imposed. Each step Hannah took, each subtle adjustment of her gown, the gentle sway of fabric, and the rhythmic click of her heels against the marble, reinforced a narrative of quiet, deliberate control, a visual testament to the years of resilience, strategy, and measured patience that had led to this precise, commanding moment. Logan Sterling's subtle guidance ensured that the twins maintained their poised composure, yet they moved with ease and natural confidence, further amplifying the deliberate harmony of presence and power Hannah projected. The interplay of ambient light, reflective surfaces, and the gentle hum of ambient music framed her as the unspoken center of attention, every element of the environment harmonizing to underscore her authority and elegance. Guests exchanged soft, incredulous whispers, their subtle glances and body language betraying admiration, surprise, and the quiet recognition of Hannah's mastery over both her presence and the perception of those around her. Her lips curved in a controlled, serene smile, a silent acknowledgement of the journey that had brought her from doubt and vulnerability to calm command, an assertion of dignity that required no words. The air seemed to shift gently around her, a palpable aura of calm confidence and refined strength radiating outward, bending the subtle currents of attention and respect in her direction. Ethan's gaze lingered, a faint tension remaining in his expression as he silently registered the full scope of her transformation, the careful orchestration of every detail and gesture marking the culmination of a life rebuilt with intention and quiet mastery. Hannah Carter, standing at the center with Ella and Liam at her sides and Logan Sterling close behind, embodied the complete realization of resilience, composure, and strategic grace, her quiet presence alone shaping the room, commanding attention, and leaving a lasting impression of strength, dignity, and serene triumph in the softly illuminated, elegant ballroom.